trustees, MTSU staff, and those attending virtually by joining us today. Dr. McPhee, do you have any opening remarks?
No, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our first item of business is for a roll call, and it'll be conducted by Jeff Farah, Interim University Counsel and Secretary to the Board. Jeff, please call the roll.
Trustee Boyd.
Present.
Chairman DeLay.
Present.
Trustee Krabawiak.
Present.
Trustee Krabawiak, since you are participating in this meeting electronically in accordance with TCA 8-44-108C3, there are 2 questions that will need to be answered for the record. First, are you able to hear me and the other trustees clearly so that you can participate in the meeting?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
And second, are there other individuals in the room with you?
There is no one here with me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Trustee Martin.
Here.
Chairman Smith.
Here.
Trustee Wright.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Jeff. The first agenda item is the approval of the minutes from the committee meeting held November 10, 2020. The minutes from that meeting were included in the meeting materials for your approval. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the November 10, 2020 meeting, please?
Motion to
This is Krabawiak. Move to approve the minutes.
And I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? If not, with the trustee joining electronically, there will be need for a roll call vote. Since we have a motion and a second and no discussion, Jeff, please proceed with the roll call vote.
Trustee Boyd.
Present. Oh, approved. Excuse me.
Chairman DeLay.
Approve.
Trustee Krabawiak.
Approved.
Trustee Martin.
Approved.
Chairman Smith.
Approved.
Trustee Wright.
Approved.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. We're now going to divert from our agenda briefly and go to the information items. We'll come back after our information items and cover our 2 action items. So in the informational section, the first item will be the conflict of interest disclosure for 2020. I'm going to ask Ms. Janae Stevens to please present that.
Thank you and good morning.
Good morning.
In the Audit and Compliance Committee Charter, Section 4, responsibilities, the committee is to ensure that all potential conflicts of interest are adequately resolved and documented. Included in the materials that you have before you is the 2020 report of the conflict of interest disclosures that have been reviewed by the Conflict of Interest Committee. You'll note that for 2020, we reviewed 15 conflict of interest cases, and in the prior year, we reviewed 17. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Ms. Stevens. The next item on our agenda is the review of the President's Statement of Disclosure of Interests for 2021, which is an informational item as well. Ms. Brenda Burkhart, our Chief Audit Executive, will present this information.
Thank you, Trustee DeLay. MTSU's policy for conflict of interest requires the President's disclosure form be evaluated by the Board of Trustees or a duly appointed committee. Since the Audit and Compliance Committee is charged with assisting the Board with oversight of standards of conduct and compliance with legal and regulatory requirements, Dr. McPhee's 2021 Disclosure of Interest form is presented for the committee's review. The disclosure form is on page 45 of the meeting materials. The 2021 form has the same disclosures as the prior year form. The forms are a public record on the Tennessee Ethics Commission webpage. That concludes my report.
Does the committee have any questions? With none, thank you, Brenda, for that report. The next item on the agenda is a report on compliance with public records policy. Jeff Farah, University Counsel, will present this information.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Policy 120 requires an annual report to the board on our compliance with the Tennessee Public Records Act. To that end, we've provided a summary at page 49 of the records requests that we've received and responded to in 2020. You'll see there were a total of 156 requests, the majority of which we provided the records that were requested. For those where records were denied, the primary reasons for denial are if the records are confidential under Tennessee law, such as, for instance, student education records and certain employment records, or the request was made by a non-Tennessee citizen, because our policy requires proof of Tennessee citizenship before we will disclose the record. There were only slightly fewer requests in 2020 than there had been in 2019, and at this point I have no suggestions for revisions to policy 120. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to respond.
Any questions? With no questions, thank you, Jeff, for that report. The next report is on the results of external reviews, which again is an informational item. Again, Ms. Brenda Burkhart, our Chief Audit Executive, will present this information.
Thank you, Trustee DeLay. The meeting materials include 4 summaries of reports issued by external agencies since the last meeting. The Comptroller of the Treasury issued the annual financial and compliance audit for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2020. We are happy to report that there were no audit findings and the opinions of the financial statements are unmodified. Page 53 of the meeting materials includes a copy of the audit highlights page. We consider that sort of our brag sheet. I want to recognize and thank management and the employees that prepared the annual financial statements for another year of no audit findings. The Comptroller's Office also released the results of the NCAA agreed upon procedures applied to the Statement of Revenues and Expenses of the athletics programs for the year ended June 30th, 2020. There were no exceptions noted in this report. Also, the U.S. Small Business Administration completed the financial examination for the 2019 program year of the Tennessee Small Business Development Center. There were no findings, and the report concluded that the Tennessee Small Business Development Center was in compliance with the financial objectives of the Small Business Development Program. And then the 4th report we received was the Tennessee Student Assistant Corporation completed a program desk review of MTSU state financial aid programs for the 2019-2020 awards year. There were no reportable discrepancies, and the financial aid staff was congratulated on, to quote, the quality of the administration of the institution's financial aid programs, end quote. And then since the meeting materials were prepared, the Comptroller of the Treasury issued an investigative report titled Middle Tennessee State University, Somali Student Association, and Muslim Students Association. You should have received a copy of that report last week, and that report is also located on the Comptroller's webpage. The report cited deficiencies in the review process of both the Office of Student Organizations and Service and the faculty advisors for the 2 student organizations. Management is implementing corrective action, and a follow-up report of the corrective action will be presented at the next meeting of the Audit and Compliance Committee. That concludes my report on the results of external reviews.
Thank you, Brenda. Are there any questions at this point?
Pete, not a question, just a comment. I'd like to congratulate Brenda and the financial staff on great job. I found during the years auditors' jobs are to find something wrong. No offense, Brenda, but they found nothing wrong in 4 of these reports. So that's fantastic. Excellent job. That's like winning a conference championship. So congratulations on a great job. So.
I will say thank you, but I'll have to say thank you on behalf of the management that we have here in place and the people in the business office that process the transactions and make sure that we're in compliance with the programs. I mean, I'm a small part of that. It really takes university, dedicated to compliance for doing things right. So I'll say thank you, but I'll have to give credit where credit is due.
Thank you again. Takes a team just like a basketball team, so great job. We
Thank you.
appreciate you.
I agree with you. Next, Brenda, you're on a roll. Will you also
On a roll.
present the next informational item, which is the quarterly report on the results of internal audit reports?
And since the last meeting of the committee, there has been one audit report issued. The audit of the Office of the President for fiscal year 2020 was completed, and there were no reportable issues. The status of the current audit plan is on page 57 of your meeting materials. And that concludes my quarterly update on the results of internal audit reports.
Brenda, thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions? Now I would like to go back up to on the agenda to our action items, which we passed on at the beginning. The first of our action items is the approval of policy revisions for two policies that we have two presenters. Christy Sigler, the interim assistant to the president for institutional equity and compliance, will present the proposed revisions for policy 25, equal opportunity, affirmative action, and non-discrimination. Christy, the podium is yours.
Trustee DeLay, I don't think she's made it in, so if we can
Okay.
go ahead and have Janae's policy.
So
check on that.
that's perfect. Thank you for being willing to pivot, Janae. The next item we have is the policy before the committee is policy 90. Policy 90 is the athletic integrity and conduct of athletics staff. Janae Stevens will present the proposed revisions for this policy. Thank you, Janae.
Thank you, Trustee DeLay. These proposed revisions are drafted simply to clarify that any investigations related to policies 26, 27, and 29 or matters that are covered under NCAA or Conference USA rules are not subject to the review by policy 90. And in addition, cross-references and policy names have also been updated. We respectfully request that that the committee reviews and approves these revisions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve the proposed revisions to policy 90, athletic integrity and conduct of athletic staff?
I make the motion to approve this, Trustee Martin.
Is there a second?
Trustee Purvaliak seconds, please.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I can just add a brief
Yes, sir.
reminder and background. If you all recall, this issue came up about a year ago with a complaint from a parent that this board took very seriously and asked the president and his staff to develop not only a policy, but also a process that takes review and investigation out of the athletic department. And we've done just that. We've developed a policy. We have allocated a position. And Ms. Stevens, I think you're in the process of the search for the position.
The position has been filled, and the compliance and risk manager has already been working in partnership with athletics. Her name is Amanda Arnold. She is a former school resource officer with the Rutherford County Sheriff's Department. She is also an MTSU alumni, and she is quite proud to be working in partnership with athletics. She's already met with a number of the coaches, done observations with some of the teams, and she brings to bear very impressive writing skills and other great skills. So we're very pleased to have her.
Yes, I don't think you'll find many institutions have gone this far in making sure that our student athletes are well taken care of, and also the accountability that we put in with the staff, the coaches, with regards to taking care of our student athletes. So, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to make sure that the board knew the background and that we did follow up on the instructions from the board.
Thank you very much. I'm glad we've got that position filled. With a trustee joining electronically, there's a need for a roll call vote. Since we have a motion and a second and no further discussion, Jeff, will you please proceed with the roll call vote?
Trustee Boyd,
Approve.
Chairman DeLay,
Approved?
Trustee Karbawiak,
Approved?
Trustee Martin,
Approved.
Chairman Smith,
Approved.
Trustee Wright,
Approved.
and it carries.
Thank you. The motion passes. We are a couple of minutes away from our next presentation. Following our next action item, we will then go into executive session. At the time we go into executive session, I'm going to ask a handful of people to remain. Jeff, I'm going to ask you to remain. I'm going to ask Kathy Musselman to remain. I'm going to ask Chris Massaro and Deb Sells to remain when we go into executive session. Please bear with us just a moment as our next presenter is on the way.
And she's really not late now, the adjustment that we made in the schedule. So I just want to make sure the board know that she's not keeping us waiting on. It's our adjustment. So she said she's right around the corner. The corner might be about a mile from here, but
Hopefully she's wearing tennis shoes like Deb Sells was today.
We'll take a brief recess.
Thank you. Hello, Christy. Our next agenda item is the approval of the revisions to let me start again. Well, welcome Christy Sigler, the Interim Assistant to the President for Institutional Equity and Compliance. She will present the proposed revisions to Policy 25, Equal Opportunity, Affirmative Action, and Non-Discrimination. Christy, the podium is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, all. I'm sorry for the delay. Policy 25 is set for revision due to changes in language used by the Department of Labor and the Equal Opportunity Commission. So you will see that there are changes throughout to replace the word minorities with individuals of color and to array those categories as the Department of Labor and EEOC typically list them. There are also a couple of places where the process has changed since Policy 25 was last approved. So for instance, the president was formerly a decision maker on cases. That process changed through policies 26, 27, and now 29. So you'll see that it refers to the appropriate decision maker. Additionally, there is a change to the language regarding the measure for utilization analysis. So this is our representative number of individuals who fall into different categories. It previously read that we used a straight parity or any difference measure, while we actually use a whole person measure. The difference being that we essentially round up. So you can't have 2/3 of a person. So when our numbers come out somewhere between two numbers, we round up to the whole person. I'm happy to take any questions, but that generally covers the items that were set for revision.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion to approve the revisions to Policy 25, Equal Opportunity, Affirmative Action, and Non-Discrimination?
So moved.
Thank you, Pam. Is there a second?
This is Chris. So moved. Second.
Thank you, Chris. Is there discussion?
Couple of questions, Christie. On page 11, under the second full paragraph, it says, underrepresentation for purposes of this plan is defined as having fewer individuals of color or females of a particular section of the contractor's workforce. Question is, anywhere in our policies do we require a certain percentage of individuals of color or women as part of a contractor's workforce?
To my knowledge, there are no such individual contracts. Overall, as a university, we do aim for a certain utilization analysis, but we don't use quotas. And there's a difference there. I think some people misperceive that that's what the purpose of the affirmative action plan is, but it's rather a goal, not a specific quota.
Okay, thank you. And then the second point, really a change I would suggest making, is on page 13. And it's under compensation, letter B, number 1. And that first sentence, I would suggest or recommend moving demonstrated effectiveness at the end of that number 1 up to after academic rank as part of that compensation criteria or evaluation.
So the difference there is the first sentence applies to faculty salaries, and the second sentence applies to administrative and personnel staff. So are you saying you think that it should be included in both?
Excuse me, add, not move, but
Okay.
add that same wording, demonstrated effectiveness after academic rank as part of the faculty salaries determination.
I think that that's something we could take under consideration. It would require, obviously, discussion with the various faculty representatives, but I can see why that would come to your attention.
Should we just postpone voting on this then until they make that determination?
I would suggest so, Chairman Smith, if we could postpone that and come back after that discussion's held.
If I may as well, let me find the correct section in here. Under the previous policy version, the one that exists right now, there was a paragraph that described how complaints would be filed. And within that, it referred to being addressed by the Office of Institutional Equity and Compliance. Then there's, in parentheses, IE and C. So throughout, you'll see that changes to IEC, which is how we're actually referred to. However, when this was revised, that reference to the Office of Institutional Equity and Compliance was removed, and there's not another place where that is introduced as IEC. So when you see IEC throughout, there's not a reference point to describe what that is. So that would need to be addressed as well.
I'm glad you said that because I looked all over there for IEC and I couldn't find it. So.
And I would add, just as part of the comment, and I think the actions described here, are being proposed here, are fine. The assumption under the faculty area is that promotion and tenure evaluation constitute and include demonstrated effectiveness analysis. So that's there under the main increase in faculty salaries are when you get your promotion increases and when you get your tenure increases. So those processes already include demonstration of effectiveness or they don't occur. So I think the idea is that that's already in there for faculty because staff don't go through tenure and promotion kinds of evaluations. But I see no problem in continuing to look at that and putting that additionally in that second sentence, but it's kind of there.
Thank you. Very good discussion. It seems we have some concerns and issues we'd like to maybe clean up in this. As we have a motion on the floor in a second, I think the appropriate thing would be, if we choose to move forward in this way, would be to withdraw that motion, and then let's make a motion to consider this at another time.
I believe I made the motion. I'm happy to withdraw it.
Thank you very much. Does it require a motion to consider this at another time?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Motion to postpone.
Excellent. So do we have a motion to postpone, please?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, who was that?
With a trustee joining electronically, there's a need for a roll call vote. Since we have a motion and a second to withdraw this motion and to consider it at another time, Jeff, will you please conduct a roll call vote?
Yes, and just so my records are clear, Trustee Boyd made the motion. Who seconded? Okay. Trustee Boyd.
Approve.
Chairman DeLay.
Approve.
Trustee Karbawiak.
Approved.
Trustee Martin.
Approved.
Chairman Smith.
Approved.
Trustee Wright.
Approved.
Okay, that carries to the motion to postpone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was the final agenda item on the public session for our committee. Are there any closing remarks? With none, the portion of the Audit and Compliance Committee meeting concerning public matters is completed. We will now go into executive session for discussion concerning audits, investigations, and litigation. No business other than these items will be considered during the non-public session.
Do we need a motion to go into executive session?
I don't believe so.
No.
I don't believe we need a motion to go into executive session. Again, I would ask Brenda Burkhart, Jeff Farah, Kathy Musselman, and Deb Sells to remain when we go into executive session. So the public meeting of the Audit and Compliance Committee is now adjourned. I'll ask everyone else other than the board members, the president, the people identified, and our legal counsel to leave the room. Thank you.